NugLife. 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 NugLife.
Everybody, welcome to the NugLife Radio show. We are a high level of education. Not only that, but we are the first cannabis show to ever hit mainstream radio. And we are here to educate you on everything that is awesome in cannabis and to make sure that you learn more to destroy the stigmatas of what is going around out there. Don't believe the lies is what we're trying to say. Co-hosting today, first let me say I'm Medi Mike. I don't know if I told you that. I'm Medi Mike, Medicinal Mike. I'm a cannabis comedian and activist, and I host the NugLife Radio show. We're here with Scorch PFG in the house. How's it going, brother?
What's happening, man? I'm looking up the word stigmata because I have a funny feeling that every week that has been misused since the show has been on the air. And I'm just kind of looking it up right now. So nice to have you here. It's nice to be here, man.
I am not a vocabulary expert, but I can definitely
Sounds
use
like
the
a
words
fun word, stigmata, but,
creatively.
you know, let's look it up.
Today, sitting in for the Jon Allen, we have comedian Erik Knowles, one of the funniest comics in San Diego, also in the San Diego finals for San Diego's funniest comic. There's a lot of San Diego drops.
No. Let me tell you what stigmata is.
No, let me, please, because I've been dying. You're right, since last week. Stigmata, you're trying to use the word stigma.
Stigma.
Yeah, stigmata is like this miraculous thing where the wounds of Jesus appear on a person's palms.
A term used by members of the Christian faith to describe body marks, sores, or
movie,
sensations.
Well, that could be said the same
Fair
for the
enough.
show.
Right.
Fair enough. You win.
I get ashes on my hands.
No question.
If you are
Every
listening to
Wednesday.
the NugLife Radio show, please wear a prophylactic or some kind of protection because we are a stigmata, the only stigmata.
There you go.
But we are expulsing the stigmas
Oh, boy.
of medical marijuana and recreational cannabis.
I'm just going to get away from my computer after that one.
We are creating our own words. We call them marijuana-isms, and I'm inventing them as we go along.
Right on.
So we are,
Word.
again, the #1 radio show because we're the only one for medical marijuana that's ever hit mainstream. We're very happy to be that, making history and giant footprints.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, it's great to have you, man. Usually you're behind the board, and now we get you on the mic.
I'm all over the place, man.
I think Scorch has done something with Jon Allen because I got a text message that was like, hey, I'm going to have lunch with Scorch. Never heard from Jon again. Never heard from Jon again.
No comments on that one.
Still missing.
Good. And I told you I'll pay you the other 50% on confirmation.
Proof of life, Scorch. We need proof of life.
Bring me his thumb.
So what we're here to do today, we're going to have Dan Murphy coming in from the Human Solution. That's a great organization founded by Joe Grumbine, who is now a free man because he was locked up for marijuana, quote-unquote, crimes. And it took a lot of people and a lot of effort, and a nice group came out of it called the Human Solution. We have Mr. A, if you're a fan of the show, you know him. He's our
Love
residential
Mr. A.
grower and geneticist and the smartest guy that's ever been around a marijuana plant.
Yeah, wow. Are you sure? No, I love your man. You just throw out some compliments, man.
Mr. You think I use big words? Mr. A uses them, and they fit where they belong. You know, when he says disillusionism, you know that's exactly what it means.
Right.
Disillusionism.
I love listening to that guy talk.
Also today, I want to talk about this week in the news: cannabis education. A co-op, one of the first ones to go up, just started advertising last week. Has been robbed
already?
by gunpoint.
So sad.
2 men came in armed, and they wanted to procure the recreational and medicinal marijuanas for themselves, and decided to have a good old-fashioned shootout at the front door.
You mean they wanted to steal the weed?
All the weed. All the weed. I'm sure if they would have asked, they would have gotten a free joint or something. You
No
know?
kidding, man. Sign up. First-time patient deals are pretty killer in San Diego.
One guy shot and killed on the scene, and I'm glad you deserve it. You're a piece of crap. You want to go in and steal everybody's pot and ruin the image of medical marijuana for the entire community. The other guy got away in a car. The security guard was shot outside of his vest, but he is okay after a little bit of surgery.
Why are people stealing marijuana in San Diego in
It's
2014?
everywhere.
It literally grows on trees here, and most of us, we are allowed to grow it. Why would you?
I worked in a co-op. I was in BMC dispensary before it got raided by the feds, and we would have guys. You watch the videotape, and they come in and they will pocket the entire jar. They keep these giant jars of pot, about 1 gallon, and they hide it and walk out with it.
If I may, for those that aren't privy to this, what's BMC?
BMC is just the name of the co-op, Balboa Medical Center.
Okay.
And yeah, nothing.
It sounds legit, man.
It does, right? It's a new
like tons-
chemical I found in the
could
medical
be.
marijuana.
The show almost sounds legit too, so I figured,
Tons of lost veterans wandering in there.
We're faking it
The
till we make
Balboa
it.
Medical Center? Seriously?
And that
All
was a
right.
made-up name that you called your co-op that you can
Yeah.
just...
Well, as long as you put the word health or medical center or
Wellness.
group, wellness is a big one.
That's a good one.
Okay.
It makes you seem like you have the proper paperwork that doesn't really exist just yet in California. And
Right.
it keeps you low on that radar.
If you get an official-looking sign, it can buy you a few months.
Well, they've just started now accepting permits in San Diego. Which
good.
I think it's awesome. They're for legal dispensaries. They have a couple zoned. What I don't like is they're raffling them off. So if you can afford to pay $40,000 a month in rent, you get to have your very own medical marijuana dispensary.
Wow, they make a game of it. That's so nice.
What I'm doing is I'm going to wait for those 40, 50 people to actually funnel themselves out before I decide that I want to fill out paperwork for something like that. Put
right.
myself on the list of, hey, who are we going to raid next year to make sure Obama gets another term? But a little bit about me.
He's going to
coming
have to
out there
raid a
for
lot
you.
of people to get another term, I think.
So the guy driving the North Park robbery, too, he's identified in a white vehicle, really crummy looking and ghetto. So if you see a piece of crap white car,
It's always a white
Because
one.
there's only one of those in Southern California.
should be easy to find. I think it was like an 86.
So it was like a white car. Was it a cop? It sounds like a cop. They drive a lot of white
No,
cars.
they said there was a wreck down the street, and that might be the guy. But so far, I hear that he's not been caught. But I mean, if your homie goes in there and gets shot, somebody's going to rat you out.
No kidding.
San Diego right now is reporting that
did he get away with anything? Did he have any?
Nah, just gunshot wounds, and he stole some shrapnel from the security guard.
He didn't get any weed. Good.
But right now, San Diego is creating an image and trying to use this incident to say that medical marijuana out here is going to make the crime rate go skyrocketing. And what I think personally is prohibition is the only reason he robbed it. Had marijuana been legal, and cannabis easily accessible for people, they would not be sticking guns at each other. It wouldn't cost
Seriously.
$500 an ounce. Its actual worth is probably about $35 an ounce. So, I mean, if you can afford $35, back when Scorch used to get it, it was $35 an
But
ounce.
Mike,
But I never paid for it. Remember that, because paying for it is illegal. That was always handed to me or donated to me by certain individuals.
Scorch is a
But Mike, if we make
non-profit
it
organization.
Trust me, look at my bank account. I am definitely a non-profit organization. There's no doubt.
What's that, Eric?
I was just saying, but we can't do that. Seriously, if we make it completely legal and completely affordable, then there's not going to be any crime related to it anymore. Then, yeah. So then, what are our police going to do, Mike? What are they?
What will they do? Maybe bust
Yeah.
real drug
We
dealers
don't-
and meth labs and
Yeah.
crack labs and stop messing with
The
us.
reality of that is that because that makes the police's job obsolete, or at least we need less of them. So the cops are never going to be on the side of
The cops are here to protect you. Believe it or not, I show up in these raids, and Officer Cooper, big shout out. He's always there, and he's there to protect the people. The guys getting raided, and there to make sure that the feds are okay as well. But they're completely non-biased. If you're listening to right now, we're the NugLife Radio show, and we are discussing a big robbery, and basically making marijuana legal is going to make your crime rate go down and probably bring your tax dollars up.
Now, is there a way that these guys can say, okay, remember last week on the show we had somebody whose plants were stolen. They put a value on plants finally.
Yeah, that was
Okay,
Shane Jewell.
Shane, yeah. Can these guys...
$200 a plant is the value they put on that too.
Can these guys say to the cops, hey, we had 15 this kind of plant taken in and 50
No,
buds
they
of
don't. No.
so there's nothing they can do about it.
The plus I could see to that is if you have what's called a clone, which is a baby marijuana plant, it's just a little seed stock. that's not really worth $200. So if you get 50 of those, you're actually going to profit from the situation. But if you've been growing your plant for 3 months and you finally got the wicked Kush secret down and it's just crystally, you are out.
No, that's not what I'm asking. What I'm saying is can these people at the place that got robbed, can they somehow report it as like to their insurance company or whatever? Okay,
that's very new right now. Not a lot. I couldn't even name any that are actually
not that I'm
covering
looking
it.
to break into any sort of dispensary or anything.
You're looking to open your own and then burn it down.
just to enjoy a big bong hit out of that.
That's why they call him Scorch. He likes to burn stuff. So yeah, if you have a big plant like that, you are definitely going to be at a loss, but it's good to at least have a number established. I'm sure as education moves forward and we learn more about the plants and the rarities, you'll be able to fluctuate that amount right there. But I just want to say that I'm glad the guy was shot and killed. I hope it sets an example. I'm sorry your families had to deal with that.
Wow.
Yada yada.
That's a little harsh.
No, it's not. If you're going to come and you're going to take what I work for,
not
and
harsh,
I
but
work
it's
my
heavy,
ass
man.
off. Yeah, I work a lot, and I work very hard, and I work to share these meds, and I give a lot away. And for someone to come in and just assume that they're going to play alpha male and just take what you've worked hard for, I hope you're shot and killed right there on the floor. Sorry, but I hope that you don't get to walk around and do it to anybody else, and they put an end to it. Nobody will ever get robbed by that guy again.
Let it be known.
I'm sure his friend's going to
I say that we just find out who it is and we poison every bit of weed that they're going to medicate themselves with and make sure they just die. Put cyanide in it. Cyanide, by the way, if you're going to kill them, that's the best way to go.
Also, the main ingredient in LSD. Check it out.
If you really want to
yeah, you should, though. I mean, he went in there with that gun, and he was planning on killing everybody and everything. He opened fire. So, rather than some poor 19-year-old girl working her way through school for $5 an hour, because you make nothing working in medical marijuana. Yeah. Nothing. You make nothing. Less than minimum wage for the most part, because who are you going to complain to?
Yeah.
They give you a free gram at the end of the day. They're like, that's an extra $20 on your paycheck.
Right.
But try and pay your rent with it. It's not going to work. So we do have a great show coming up today. We have Dan Murphy from The Human Solution. We have Mr. A. He's our expert geneticist grower. He's going to share all kinds of knowledge, and we're going to see what's going on with his week. I want to leave you with a NugLife trivia fact. NugLife trivia today. The first recorded use of medical marijuana was in what year? We're going to get your answers when we come back. You're listening to the NugLife Radio Show, a higher level of education for the cannabis community.
I smoke 2 joints in time of peace and 2 in time of war. I smoke 2 joints before I smoke 2 joints, and then I smoke 2 more.
Life. 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 Life.
Everybody, welcome back. Everybody and you, in case there's a lot of people in your car, that's who the everybody I'm referring to is. We are the NugLife Radio Show. We are the first radio show to provide cannabis education to the masses on a mass level of educational platforms. Because that's how I use my words. I'm your host, Medi Mike, marijuana comic, activist, and now radio host. Added to my resume. We're here with Scorch PFG. I didn't know if that was a wooga sound effect or actually Scorch. We're here with Erik Knowles, San Diego's funniest comic. I'm just predicting ahead a couple weeks, Erik.
Not until next Monday, Mike.
All right. If you want to hear us anytime.
Fix is in, though. It's going to be me.
I think so. I'm paying people for you as well.
I'm telling you, place your bets.
We are a high level of education. We are the show where you get all your facts, destroying the stigmas of marijuana and all the myths associated with. Plus, we're a lot of fun and a great way to get educated. Speaking of education, we had a NugLife trivia fact I like to end each segment with so that you can learn all the good stuff there is to know in this counterculture community. And that is the first recorded use of medical marijuana was what year? I think it's going to shock you. Let's start with you, Scorch. Do you have a guess?
What do you mean by recorded?
Yeah.
Recorded means somebody told somebody else about it. So if you're at home healing your cat, but you don't tell anyone, it doesn't count. But if you actually
First
say
time marijuana helped somebody?
yes, and it works, so we have to tell masses that this is
Garden
what you
of
do to cure this. So if you
I
had,
have 1715.
The year 420.
no, no, those are both wrong. Wow, I wanted to drag a little conversation to
I had
start.
1966
No,
written
but
down,
seriously, I mean, I don't know.
that's a pretty vague question there.
The first year that it was recorded for medical use.
but a doctor was involved
yeah,
at some point.
Yeah, a doctor, some kind of a medical professional.
1953.
Yes, maybe. I don't know. Like that. Maybe the 80s or something. The 1980s.
You're both off just by a little. Let me give you the answer. It is 2727 BC.
Oh,
Before Christ.
See? I was right.
They were using
Garden of
marijuana
Eden.
and hemp to cure stuff. And if Jesus is doing it, there's no reason we shouldn't, right?
No, that was 2,700 years before Jesus, he said.
Oh, BC. Is that what that stands for?
Yeah. Before Christ.
No, I knew that.
Right.
I guess before Christ. So there were pagans and druids that were rolling around in the mud, praying to false idol cows.
Fred Flintstone and them were just getting baked.
I bet you that's when marijuana came
Yeah.
around, like right in those
Right around
caveman
then.
days.
Originally, it was called Fred Flintstone, and they said we can't really do that.
See, that's why everything's like the Stone pun.
Nice.
See, rewatch those old favorites
it's
now.
all making sense. It's all making
Totally.
sense.
Oh, it's so bang Wilma. Oh my God.
This is probably I can't imagine what they would use it for. Like, what was the ailment that would procure yourself in 2727?
Probably,
BC?
it probably helped relieve the anxiety of maybe being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. Probably take the edge off of having to create fire somehow.
And you don't have to club a woman to get her to your cave anymore.
Right,
You know?
yeah.
It's associated with foreplay.
I don't know if that was a bad thing, having to club a woman and bring her to your cave.
Now you
I
bring
think
her
that was
to
a
the
luxury
club
of the Stone Age.
called the cave.
Yeah.
I used to cave
gotta-
women and bring them to my club.
Oh. You make them
caned?
cave first.
Caned
I like
a
that.
woman?
I caved women. Never mind.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Caning was cruel. I was like, just beat her up. Don't
Just
make it
never mind.
sting.
I once
Just
went
never mind.
spelunking with a young lady.
I like spelunking. That's a fun word to say. I spelunked.
Okay, also in the news, let's on that note, after you're done spelunking, guns, bud, and conspiracy. 2 LA County sheriffs charged with manufacturing evidence during
No.
during
What?
dispensary. But I just sat there and said
LA
about how the
PD?
cops are here to protect us.
I
and you can
shouldn't say-
trust them.
Are we?
And
This
now they
is the pattern forming here.
Yeah, now they're going to doing something
Man.
like that. I feel like they're
on,
messing with me
guys.
personally. They're like, you know what? Let's really screw that guy on the radio. What happened is last Friday was a harsh day for 2 former Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies who have been charged with carrying 4 what? Okay, whatever. Basically, they went into the co-op, right? And they said, we're going to raid you, but they couldn't find anything outside of the box that's against, because now your sheriffs are there to protect your state laws. And if your state law says marijuana is okay, they're supposed to protect those rights. So if you're a cop, write that down right now.
Yeah.
Protect our rights.
Here's what your job is, remember?
They went in there and they put some ecstasy pills down on the thing and slid a gun in there.
Oh, yeah, because that has anything to do with medical marijuana.
Right. Ecstasy. I mean,
Nobody's ever said,
Now, this
smoke
is-
this and
this is
drop
all
some
alleged.
E, and that'll help with your glaucoma.
This is all alleged thus far. Have they been busted?
Yeah, they have been busted. According to the LA Times, Julio Cesar Martinez, 39, and Anthony Manuel Paez, 32, used to be Officer Julio and Anthony, but no more. Demoted
now
back down.
just senior.
Were charged with 1 felony count each of conspiracy to obstruct justice and altering evidence as a peace officer. According to the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office, Martinez was also charged with 2 felony counts of perjury and 1 of filing a false report. Let me tell you, too, I'll bet you anything that the time that they are given or the penalty is still less than some of the marijuana penalties that are going on out there for just care. Like the one girl who just got in Oklahoma, $39.
No.
It was a $39 sale, and the judge gave her 12 years.
Oh, my God.
12 years.
What?
Normal reached out to him, all the organizations,
horrible.
and they're like, hey, we're outraged. This woman has children. And the judge, he looked at it, and he was like, cool, 12 years. I'll bet you these guys don't even serve 3 years on either one. On either one. And they'll probably be put back to work in the next week.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
What did we... What do we do, man? That's kind of
What a world
depressing.
we live in when cops become douchebags. How can you not trust the police?
Did you see what the NYPD did with their Twitter campaign?
Oh, they tried. What they put out, the NYPD put out that they would like to see supportive pictures of the community with the NYPD.
And they wanted to hashtag it with my NYPD. So they encouraged New
Look
Yorkers,
that up, too.
hey, send us some pictures that you say represents your NYPD. And it was just tons of like police brutality and cops shooting dogs,
Beating the crap.
cops sleeping in cars.
Backfire.
It was like this huge PR backfire. It was hilarious.
Yeah, but that's real. You know, there are a lot of rogue cops out there. I'm going to still say the majority, especially Officer Cooper in San Diego, who might let you get off a ticket if you cry and you have big boobs like myself.
Oh, yeah?
He's one of the good ones. But there are a lot of crooked ones out there. That's why it's very important to know your rights, know what you're supposed to be doing when you're pulled over, knowing not to give the consent to search, you know, and just have your vehicle online. Don't be smoking weed in your car while you're driving. Don't leave roaches in the ashtray.
What?
I wonder, can you smoke weed as a passenger, though? Like alcohol. Like, I can drink as a passenger.
No,
know?
you can't.
No.
You can't drink as a passenger?
Definitely
No.
not. No. I mean, I
Not
don't know the
anymore,
rules
man.
around here.
I
but
think we need to do a little
Not
research
anymore.
on that.
back when you were a little kid, perhaps you could. But
Yeah,
you know.
not since CDs came out, basically.
Really?
Yeah, we can't do that
I grew
stuff
up in
anymore.
Vegas where you could just drink everywhere. So I
Oh,
assume
yeah.
that you should be able to smoke the weed. Like, hey, I'm not driving. I'm sitting in the back, man.
I grew up in a time where drinking and driving was allowed. Legal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that explains why
How
you
about
drive
that?
that
Imagine
way.
that drinking and driving was allowed. Like there was no problem. I mean, if you got
When did
crap
they
faced
stop
and
that? Like somebody
you
had
know.
to kill somebody with their
Well, I would
car?
imagine there was, you know, it was probably 1973-ish.
Now, was there a
Back
big
in the
uproar?
good old days.
Was there a big uproar back then for? Because I'm sure it was the same way with prohibition for alcohol, where now we're going to start testing you. We figured out a way to test your blood alcohol limit. Were the masses the same way enraged as they are today with the marijuana blood limit?
No, I think that the difference is the alcohol blood limit kills people if it's elevated. The marijuana THC level, if it's elevated, is not really going to kill people. It's going to make you want to go to sleep. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I think it is. I think that there's a big difference because alcohol really killed a lot of people. People were drinking and driving, and so getting tested.
But back then, that was just being a man. Like, it was common for people to, you know, you would come home and your wife would have a martini for you in the
Yeah.
belt so you can whoop the kid and
Right.
have your drink. You
Here,
know?
honey, here's a martini. Please
Yeah.
hit me.
So you're bringing up again the fact I can't
I
find a
forgot to
wife.
vacuum
Is that
the
what
rug,
you're
so I
saying?
hit
Right.
myself.
How's that Match.com working out for
Yeah, how
you?
is that working out? Huh? I can't find anybody because I'm always out getting medicated.
I think if you try 420dating.org, my little suggestion, you go on there and they're going to find you a nice weed smoking Jew girl who's going to take care of you and have family money.
Wow.
And then it will
Old
be
money.
Right.
That's what you want.
old money.
Yeah.
Old
You
money.
want to marry up, Scorch.
Had to go Jew girl.
Yeah. Well, why
Had to
not?
go Jew girl. Couldn't just leave
we're
it
trying to
alone
make
as
your
a
mom proud.
You
We're
know
trying
they
to make
control all the
Too
medical
late for
marijuana,
that.
right?
You know, too late for that. My mother could never be proud of me. Look at the show I'm on now.
She's not kosher. Tell her this show is kosher. We are blessed by a rabbi.
Yeah.
Before each and every broadcast that we do.
Right.
Baruch atah.
We washed our hands in milk and
Hey, can I ask you a
whatever.
question?
Sure.
If I were to get a card and lose it, what happens?
Good question. Good question. Great and better segue. Mauricio, I won't give his last name. Mauricio, here's a good example.
Oh, okay.
Had his wallet lost or stolen, right? And somebody found it. And they ordered from a medical marijuana delivery service in California. And when the gentleman arrived, he showed his doctor's rec, which we have to allow us to participate in the medical marijuana programs out here. And it was ripped in 10 pieces. He didn't want to show his ID. And instead, he pulled out a gun and robbed the driver.
oh yeah.
Didn't shoot anybody, but I hope that guy is also killed in a street battle.
Maybe it was also this other guy.
Well, it turns out I got
Two
on
birds, one stone, man.
another co-op called us up because we all kind of work together to make sure that the crime rate is low and that if one gets robbed, the other's in there. And I posted his name and his phone number on Facebook, as you should.
Oh.
And one of my lawyer friends in Texas, thank you, John, sent me his entire background search plus his reverse lookup on his phone number. And this isn't a normal background search. This was done by an attorney. So I sent him all his information, his mom's information, his parents, and we said, we need to know if this is you. After switching the picture around, turns out it wasn't him. wasn't him. But we had already posted on Facebook that this guy. So the important thing is if you don't want 40 people showing up at your house in Suburbans and Escalades, you should report if your medical marijuana card gets stolen. Immediately be a responsible patient. And a responsible patient follows the rules. And that means if you lose your card, you call your doctor and say, hey, I need a new number, cancel out that old one. Because unfortunately, this is a very common practice for these people to find these cards and then steal.
I feel like I should be honest then right now, Mike.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know where mine is right now.
It was you. It was you. Again, we are the NugLife Radio Show, and what we're doing is we are a higher level of education here to destroy all the stigmas, the myths that are put to cannabis in the medical marijuana counterculture. A lot of big words in weed. I want to leave you with a NugLife fact again because this is awesome and it's going great. So your NugLife question is, what chemical does marijuana flood the brain with? That's a good one, right? Ooh. So we're going to be right back. We have the Smoker Circle coming up. We still have Dan Murphy coming in from the Human Solutions. So Mr. A's coming in. Make sure you stay tuned to the NugLife Radio, NugLifeRadio.com.
Roll another blunt. Yeah.
God, I want to listen to the whole song. This is the NugLife Radio Show. We are here because we got high. A higher level of education. That's what we are. You can listen to us on NugLifeRadio.com. Way to screw up my own bumper. We are a cannabis education show. We are very entertaining and fun to listen to. I am your host. I am Medicinal Mike, Medi Mike for short. I am a cannabis comedian, activist. We are the first show ever syndicated for mainstream radio. Thanks a lot to Envisage and all that they do. Co-hosting with me today, Scorch PFG in the house.
Hello.
We're back. And Erik and Knowles, funniest comic ever on the West Coast.
Ever.
I'm just going to keep getting it up and up.
Ever been on this coast.
He actually gets paid. Erik Knowles is a paid comic, something that many of us comedians never really get to see.
Yeah.
In
paid
comedy.
tens of dollars, Mike. Living the dream over here.
That's enough to afford a sack.
Tell us how you did it.
So we are here in the NugLife Radio Show. We are counterculture, again, education. If you want to listen along for our archives, go to NugLifeRadio.com. Today wait, you know what? Let's do the NugLife answer because I'm sure people are just enthralled with what's going on.
What was the question again?
The question is, what chemical is flooded in the brain when you smoke cannabis? What does your brain do that just overloads? What do you think? Let's go with you, Erik. You can start it off.
That one seems easy. I think that one's THC, right?
No, and that's a pretty dumb answer, Erik. Pretty dumb answer.
How is that a dumb answer?
You're supposed to be an expert, man. You're supposed to be an expert.
Chemical that floods your brain?
Scorch, give us the right answer,
dopamine,
please.
is that what you mean?
Yeah, I'm thinking something along the lines of I have no idea. Got me.
This son of a monkey just.
Oh, it is dopamine.
Dopamine, it is. Dopamine. That's the chemical in your body that creates happiness and makes sure that you love everything and everyone around you. And that's why there's no aggressive potheads out there, because dopamine is flooded through your brain. And that's awesome.
I happen to work on rockallnight.com and Rock All Night every Monday through Friday night with Scorch.
I've heard of that.
One of my engineer on the show, Sean, is a violent weed smoker, just so you know.
Well, he's like a medieval time. Sean, if you don't know, he's violent in a medieval way. Like, he carries a mace with the spikes on the end of it, Sean. Big love to you out there.
Dopamine's the stuff that makes you feel happy.
If we could figure out a way to just smoke dopamine.
If we could figure out a way to just put it in tampons, I think it would change the world.
Coming in on the show, we still have a great show lined up. We have Mr. A coming in later. He's our grower geneticist. We still have the NugLife strain review in the Smoker's Circle. That's where we here at the NugLife Radio Show do the hard work for you. We find these exotic strains, we smoke them, and then we tell you how high we are. And you learn about the THC levels, the CBNs and CBDs. which are all the beneficial chemicals that are in marijuana, along with many others. Coming into the show, I want to give a big welcome from the Human Solution. This gentleman here is probably one of the biggest activists. I've seen him everywhere. Just to give a proper setup, when I got raided by the feds, I had one protester come out there and stayed with a blanket, hot soup. Welcome to the show, Dan Murphy.
Oh, wow.
Dan. Hey.
Thanks a lot, Mike. It might have been a little bit less than that, but I love the story that you tell.
Oh, no, I remember, man. You were out there. There was nobody came to support. It was like the last co-op to get raided. So we'd already been to like 16 raids. The party was over, and Dan came out there. He had a sign. What'd that sign say, Dan?
Probably keep off my grass.
I think that's.
I love it. Keep off my grass.
He had a blanket. He had a chair. He was set for days. I know it only lasted a few hours.
Yeah,
but
and I missed it.
It was awesome that you came out there and you showed support, because everybody that came to the co-op to show up after to maybe pick up their meds that hadn't known about the raid got to see you out there holding your sign and being an activist. And I hope it spread a good message to a lot of the people out there. And that's that it starts with one and then it grows, and that's why you're here now, because you have grown. Human Solutions is an organization started by Joe Grumbine, who was a, let's say, political prisoner of marijuana, and he's free now.
Absolutely.
He's free.
Yeah, it took 4 years, and it
what
took
was he
several.
in for? Can you tell us real quick? Those who don't know Joe Grumbine.
Basically, he was running a collective. So it was possession with intent to distribute, and sales were the major crimes that he was being accused of. And
what was he sentenced? What was the sentencing on the end of that?
He was never. Well, he did a little bit of time incarceration, but the trial never made him go into custody. He was in custody before the trial, and then he ended up bailing out. And I'm not. This is one.
What does bailing out mean? That sounds like he escaped.
He had a.
I was in jail, so I just bailed.
It was a $250,000 bond, and he couldn't afford to pay the bond to keep out while he was in trial. But there was some people out there that.
So you're saying with a little bit of money, Dan, I don't have to go to jail for the crimes that I have committed? Like if I get caught, I can just throw some money up
until you get convicted. He was on trial. Once you're convicted of the crime, they have the opportunity to then put you into custody that you cannot bail out of. However, you can argue at this point that you're going to be taking it to an appellate level, and then you can argue that you would like to stay out of custody until the appellate decision, and that's the judge's discretion as to whether or not that's going to work for you. And he was able to keep out by keeping this bond active, and he had to renew it every year.
Was he on house arrest or anything like that?
No, it was just he was on bond, and
so
he
his story,
he had to obey all laws.
Media tends to not shine bright lights on what we call marijuana heroes. But Joe Grumbine actually got a lot of following. I remember you couldn't turn on a social media site and see something about Joe Grumbine, somebody supporting Joe Grumbine, and wearing what you wear today is the green ribbon with the red medical cross in the middle, which symbolizes what?
That is the symbol of the Human Solution, and it symbolizes that no one should go to jail for a plant.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
I saw these first.
Unless it's like a cocaine plant or something.
What if they were running a nuclear weapons plant? Would they go to jail then for a plant? See, I'm sorry.
We'll leave that.
Devil's
We'll leave
advocate.
that to the UN.
Yeah,
for the cannabis plant,
let's
nobody
not put them in
should
charge.
go to jail. So, what is it that the Human Solution does to try to get that message out there?
They have two major focuses. Other than the fact that they are not political, they don't necessarily support or go against any of the political efforts. That's not their purview. They are there for people who are currently on trial for charges, and they offer court support and guidance. And they're for people who have already gotten through the cracks in the system.
So they have
and
attorneys,
in jail.
attorneys that volunteer their time, maybe with Human Solutions, for proper legal advice.
There are a lot of attorneys out there that are willing to offer their time. The Human Solution isn't a referral service.
Right.
They know people. They can make connections.
We know a guy who knows a guy.
Yeah. Hey, call this person. He might be able to help. Information is
so if somebody's having
valuable.
trouble and they feel like their rights are being stepped on, I would call the Human Solution, and they would offer some kind of guidance. and counseling in a way that I can handle this and do it properly to the best of my advantage.
I would call every single activist group that I thought was relevant.
As always, though, nothing is ever like guaranteed. So you're never going to say, "Oh, these people can help you." You're saying these people may be able to help you.
That they can offer the best advice for
guidance, counseling.
Don't take
brother.
a plea. 90% of all convictions are plea bargains. And
Because they don't want to spend the money to actually do the trials.
or have the investigation. If they can intimidate you, they don't need evidence, do they?
No, absolutely.
Well, there's a, I was actually talking to Dan before we recorded, before we came in here about this. There's a lot of ways to manipulate people into taking a plea. Like, do you mind talking about that, Dan?
Not at all.
Dan was telling me his children were taken away. His little girl was taken away and put into whatever custody, for
sold into the marijuana slave trade.
Yeah, and they told him, well, the quickest way to get your kid back is to not fight these charges and to not cause a stink.
And what did you end up doing? What was the charge?
He
Let's
got his
start
kids
there.
back.
Okay, I was charged with cultivation with intent to sell.
Growing marijuana.
And it was for my and my wife's medical use.
What gives them the intent to sell on growing? If you see a farm, are they just saying, well, that's too many plants for one person?
Well, basically, the intent to sell part means that you're no longer part of that decriminalization wave, because you can possess an ounce of marijuana and it's decriminalized, it's reduced penalties. But when they tack on the with intent to sell, which is just their opinion,
Right.
then all of a sudden you no longer have that protection of, oh yay, California is being really tolerant and allowing people to possess marijuana.
It used to be, I remember, I don't know if it's still true, but if you had it in multiple bags, that was like a big red flag for intent to sell. But now I'm thinking nowadays I prefer multiple strains, and I don't want them all in that same bag. I might have 16 different strains. I'm not selling them. They're all for me.
Yeah.
They're all for me.
The narcotics agents have a long list of what they can use to sell as with intent. If you have a scale, if you have baggies in a drawer in your house where you're growing marijuana, they can say you have intent to sell.
Doesn't being a medical marijuana patient, though, out here on the West Coast, where the medical over recreational, doesn't that exclude you from having to go to court? Because it's like, hey, you're the guys who gave me the card. It's the state.
This was before SB 420, so you didn't have the opportunity to have a state card which gave you prosecutorial immunity, which means the police officer says, oh, I'm sorry, this shows you're a patient. Here's your medicine back. You get to go sleep in your own house.
So did you fight?
Prop
did you fight
215.
and get your daughter back? Like, did you like say, I'm going to get the plea? I'm not going to get the plea?
Because we were informed by CPS that it would prolong reunification if we were to not show remorse in our case, and those were the words that they used. We pretty much said, what's the big priority here? And it's our daughter.
Right, absolutely.
So I did everything I had to do. I went to their drug counseling. I went to the 12-step meetings. I passed all their criteria, and it still took 18 months for our daughter to be considered ours again.
But she's home now.
Absolutely.
And doing great, of course.
Excelling in school.
That's fantastic. We are going to come right back. We're going to do the NugLife Trivia. We're going to have Dan Murphy from the Human Solutions stick around with us.
Can I say something? Very well
You didn't hear
spoken.
me just rap? Okay, go on.
You got plenty of time, man. I'm watching your clock. A prosecutorial. You're very well spoken.
I think I even used it in the right context.
No,
there.
I like the fact you're very well spoken. It's nice to have you here, man.
Scorch likes you, Dan, and that's that means you get to come back.
Yay!
Let me give you a NugLife Trivia. You're going to be right back. You're staying with us for a little bit, Dan. The NugLife Trivia question, and we're going to come back with your answers. This is an awesome one. How many chemical compounds exist in marijuana? Approximately, I guess. We are the NugLife Radio Show. We are your cannabis education for a counterculture community, if you will, a high level of education. So keep on listening. We have the Smoker Strain Review. We have Mr. A coming up and more from Dan Murphy.
Life. Nug 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 life.
Because I got high. We're the NugLife Radio Show. We
Love
are
that song.
A high level of education. I'm going to nail that one of these days. We are a higher level of education. We are Cannabis Radio at its finest, and we're here to learn you stuff about cannabis and medical marijuana and recreational marijuana and why people tend to have very poor guidance on their judgment with marijuana. We're back here. We're get Dan Murphy from the Human Solution. He's back here staying with us. I'm Medical Mike, Medicinal Mike. Screw my name. That's me, Medi Mike. You ever have one of them moments? Erik, Knowles, Scorch PFG.
Medicinal.
We're all still here.
We all have them moments.
I went and had my teeth done in Mexico, and they're not going great, so I'm kind of getting a little bit of a lisp.
You should really stop getting anything of yours done in Mexico.
You can't afford not to get it done in Mexico these days.
Okay.
When we left, we had the NugLife trivia question, and that was how many chemical compounds. Did I say that right? How many chemical compounds are in marijuana? And that being how many chemicals exist in this plant. We know of THC, CBD, which is cannabinoids, and CBN, which is cannabinoid. Why is the vocabulary so high?
CBS, it has NBC,
CVS.
MTV. I don't know that.
So how many? Let's start with you, Erik. How many chemical compounds? I feel like Dan's going to know this answer right off the bat.
Dan back here, he looks like Fred Flintstone.
He's
when
gonna
about
list
to
them.
run. He's like, "Boopity, boopity, boopity, boopity."
Erik, how many do you think are in
I
there?
don't know, man. I don't even know what a compound is. Like, what does that mean? Like,
Two words put together to make one word.
Oh.
Scorch, what do you think?
yeah, I don't know.
1,513.
There's a lot, probably. Yeah.
1,513 chemical compounds. Could you name them for us?
No.
Erik having no guess. 1,513, a very nice and even number from Scorch. Dan Murphy, save us.
Dan,
show
give us the answer,
show us
man.
that marijuana educates people.
Well, at this point, I believe there's probably a dozen different identified compounds, and probably even more. But the suspicion is that there are hundreds.
How many hundreds? Come on, baby. Come on, give it to me.
I'll
Give
go
it to
with
me.
the popular answer and say 420.
That's close. Over 400. That's like a winner right there. See,
Well, that was a gimme. We weren't trying to,
Dan Murphy, I gave him the west side. I didn't want him to think I was saying 3. I was trying to get that a little hint there. But Dan Murphy, one of the more educated of cannabis people. Happy to have you in, Dan. Thanks for spending the time with us. We're the NugLife Radio Show. We've been having a great show today. I'm starting to get a little giggly. We're having fun. The news. Let's bring up some more cannabis news. In the news.
What's in the news?
This is important. There's a new munchie.
This just in.
This just in. We have a new munchie. Get ready, world. Here comes the waffle donut. That is also a great example of a compound there, Erik.
Oh, waffle hyphen donut.
The waffle donut looks like the next great munchie.
I don't get it. Am I looking at a picture of it here? It looks like a waffle with the hole punched in it.
It's a waffle donut.
This looks like a curious teenager has been into my waffles. I don't understand how this is a delicious treat.
The wonut, as they're calling it.
The wonut, exactly.
Wonut, also
yeah, I'm not
compound.
eating any of that.
It starts with a thickened variation on the brunch's spot waffle batter, which comes in either vanilla, chocolate, or red velvet. Hits the iron. The cooked results are a happy medium between a waffle and a donut.
All right, I'm in. I'll eat it. Yeah,
Surprise.
I'll eat it.
Crisp and deep fried in vegetable shortening. Sounds healthy. Dipped in sugar, marshmallow,
All right.
maple, or chocolate glaze. The lucky ones are double dipped.
Oh, the lucky
I
ones.
see what they did there at marijuana.com. They're double dipped and finished toppings with sprinkles, chocolate shavings, and candy pistachios.
It looks pretty good.
I would have called it the Whoa Diabetic. That's I hate that they think that marijuana people just want to eat so much junk and garbage.
Seriously.
And crap. I'm trying to drop weight and look skinny, and I don't need a Wona in my life.
Yeah.
You don't
I'm ready
need
for
munchies.
Trader Joe's to just start making like stoner snacks. You know what I mean? Like,
They're called raw almonds. Enjoy.
Yeah, come on.
Dipped in marshmallow.
Yeah, dip them in something and let's get it going. Come on. Take an organic chicken, dip it in chocolate, and then. No, never mind. Bad idea. I don't know. I'm not
I was
an
going to
idea
see where
guy.
you're running with that.
Yeah, I was
organic
going to run
chocolate.
into the wall with it.
If you're
What
listening
happened,
to
so I
us here
stopped.
on NugLife Radio, we're talking about organic chickens with chocolate on them and how great it is, the munchie. Dan, what do you think of
Dan,
the
save
walnut.
us.
What do you feel like for the cannabis community? What are we doing with the walnut here? Is this a good thing?
It's definitely just catering to the sweet tooth side. And
Would you buy one for your daughter?
Side,
Would you buy one for your daughter?
well, we're just talking non-medicated at this point.
Right, non-medicated,
Yeah,
just deep fried in vegetable shortening
maybe
and marshmallow.
once a month or so, if there's like, okay, let's accomplish some things, and then you can get this as a reward. But there's way too much sweet stuff, and I know that it's not always eatable or easy to create an edible that is actually edible. You find way too many of them.
We force them down.
Yeah, I mean, and quite frankly, I feel that if I wanted to heat a bad tasting edible, I would just eat some hash and just get straight to the point.
If you ate the walnut in 2014 and has experienced any of the side effects, including blood in your urine, death, bleeding eye sockets, reach out to the law offices of Scorch PFG. What is everybody so interested in over there? Eric
I'm just looking at the pictures here on marijuana.com of these walnuts. Here,
they're
the waffle
delicious, right?
Donuts. Yeah, okay. I'm in now. I'm in, man.
Do they
made
a
waffle
celery
batter.
one?
They made waffles, first of all. Then they deep fried it. Then they're dipping it. Okay. See, I was behind, man. Yeah, I'm in. I would eat it. I just think walnuts is a bad name.
Do they happen to have a celery one or anything with like lettuce and
a celery flavored walnut, or just like a piece of
just
celery?
a piece of celery is cool, man. I can't eat that stuff, man. That stuff nauseates
We
me.
call it cannellery.
Cannellery.
We're gonna sell it for $30 a gram.
That stuff,
Oh.
I don't know how you
like
how you medicating people eat that crap. I have no idea.
That's just the worst thing.
I love sweets. I'll eat it.
That's the worst
they
thing.
keep
in the
giving
world.
it to me for free, and I can't let it go to waste.
It sounds like it's going to hurt my teeth. This just in, new study. And let me tell you, when I say this just in, I don't mean that. I got these last night. This just in, study medical marijuana laws and increased pot use by youths not linked. I love that. After a 2013 study published in the American Journal of Public Health, similar concluded that passage of medical marijuana laws in various states has had no statistical significance. Effects on the prevalence of either lifetime or 30-day marijuana use by adolescents residing in those states.
That was a nice one. Look, you nailed that one.
I got a little dizzy on that. What
You
that
nailed
means
that, man.
for the layman is basically that you're not advertising good enough. The media is not covering anything, and that marijuana is still awesome and for the most part doesn't need help to be popular. But yeah, there's not enough kids that are being educated, so therefore they're just smoking pot because it's still fun.
So this study is saying that medical marijuana laws and increased pot use by the youths are not linked.
There you go. Who's a big boy?
I don't understand.
Who's a big boy?
Good. Who
on
was saying that
phonics.
it was? I didn't know that was like a thing.
Them, the guys, the scientists, they're the ones that do everything.
Oh,
you know,
they were trying to
the guys.
prove it. Like, we're going to prove that marijuana causes, and they see the evidence. They're like, oh, damn it.
Right. So
Basically.
what do you think is the problem with that? Are we not educating our youth? I mean, I'm sure they're going to stumble onto it as they're older, but what do you think, Dan? Are they?
Well, it's kind of hard to say. Part of the culture is not as excited about marijuana use in general. It's probably a lot to do with their the schooling, and it probably has a lot to do with the easy access to a lot of other different really weird drugs that you and I never had access to.
Right.
Those really
Ecstasies.
long 8 syllable words that no, I'm just talking about just regular pharmaceuticals. You go into the bathroom and you've got a buffet of choices because most of America is over medicated, and it makes easy access to all these brain altering chemicals far too easy for kids.
So
that
what
want
is
to experiment.
an organization like the Human Solutions? What are they doing to kind of get ahead of the curve and maybe hit that younger crowd and educate them before they learn these bad myths and practices for medical marijuana?
I don't think anyone's out there trying to promote marijuana use, especially on a recreational level for children.
No, strictly
But it's-
medicinally and education of like, why is mommy smoking in there?
Supporting groups like M4A, which is the I think I got that acronym wrong, but basically it's the Unconventional Foundation for Autism, and there are
I do a lot of
different
work with
groups.
that's the Autism for Children,
Yeah.
and now when you medicate children, let me make very clear on this. they're not giving them something with side effects. Your 4-year-old is not running around the house eating up all the Funyuns and overdosing on cartoons. This is usually something fed intravenously to treat cancer or autism.
Right.
No, the smoking is heavily discouraged, and there's a few reasons for that. But you don't want a big, quick buzz and then a drop-off. You want a regular, continual dosage, because we are talking about medicine. A small piece of an edible is what I've seen a lot of children
get into when you're not at home.
Once a day, once every other day. Cannabinoids, which are naturally found in mother's milk, are beneficial for children.
You just ruined the next NugLife trivia right there. No, no, actually, I didn't know that. The cannabinoids are found in mother's milk.
Absolutely.
But not in formula, I'm guessing.
No, not in formula.
So that could be the one thing, because they say that mother's milk actually makes your child smarter and more developed than a baby that was raised up on formulas. And
increasing the immune system as well.
Okay, maybe we could dry it out and smoke it. No.
And that was one of the travesties, is that my daughter was essentially ripped from my wife's breast because she was breastfeeding when she was taken.
And how old was she?
Wow. She was 13 months old when we were raided. But I wanted to make sure that I mentioned this, that not only has Joe Grumbine been completely freed of all charges dropped, other big events that have happened here in San Diego, the Littles, Dennis and Deborah Little, have both got acquittals. We also have Laura Sharp, who ran SoCal Pure. She had her charges dropped.
I remember her.
And that, there's one more case that's still going on. It's going on in Orange County. And I bet you guys, if your listeners aren't in Orange County, then you have friends who are. No, it's Jason Andrews is in Orange County, and he's currently fighting the exact same fight that we've seen over and over again.
And these are people, too, that, real quick, are benefiting from help and guidance from the Human Solution. If you are having a situation, or you just need to know your rights, or something that's going to be awesome for you, we want you to go to the Human Solution. Just Google them. There's a website out there. You can talk to Dan Murphy or Joe Grumbine. They're actually very accessible and here to help you. Dan, we want to thank you for coming into the NugLife Radio Show.
Thank you very much for having me.
You will be coming back for the research and development portion, the fun part of our show.
Very good guest.
And I want to leave people with a NugLife fact. How many Americans do you think are actually active and proud marijuana smokers? We are the NugLife Radio Show. We are a high level of education for the cannabis counter community, and we will be right back after these quick messages.
Life. Nug 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 life.
Welcome back to the NugLife Radio Show. You are listening to a high level of education for the cannabis counter community that is out there listening to us and learning stuff. I am your host. I am Medicinal Michael, cannabis comic and activist. Also, if you read Culture Magazine, I'm San Diego's funniest celebrity, and that's why I'm here. With me today, Scorch PFG.
I read Throat Culture Magazine because I'm into like fungus.
That was like a really good pun on Scorch right there. Erik Knowles, San Diego's funniest, the West Coast, slowly creeping his way to the Midwest funniest comic.
Not too
just
slow.
Dominating everything, man. Dominating the world of comedy.
Okay.
And then sitting in with us, big thanks too to Dan Murphy from the Human Solutions. He's going to be joining us back. What a great guy. Like, it's very nice when you get that education level in the room. And the reason that we like education level, we're going to keep it rolling. We got Mr. A.
Hey.
Regular.
Love having Mr. A.
Grower, geneticist,
Thanks, guys.
botanist of what is cannabis, everything. I mean, if you've ever tried this stuff called marijuana, Mr. A is probably the one that came up with that strain. Am I going too forward with that?
Not true.
I don't want to admit to any of that.
He has a green right arm. You have a green thumb. His whole right arm up to the elbow, fluorescent green. How's it going, man? How's the week been? We had you in, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
How was your 420?
Well, it was Easter, so I had to spend the time with the fam bam, which is exactly what I wanted to do. It was
Ruins
awesome.
420, the whole Easter thing. Just ruins the holiday. There was nothing going on worth anything.
Well, I mean, for me, it was awesome. Honestly, I get enough time, obviously, around cannabis.
Of course.
So
Every
420 was a good day to take off and be able to spend it. Whether it was 415, 420, it didn't matter to me.
It's the same day, same time. Scorch likes to celebrate early, too, as we were covering last week, because it saves them money. I don't know how that worked, but it's possible. And we have the NugLife trivia question. Yes, let's do it. NugLife trivia. How many? We're gonna start with you, Mr. A. I'm going to get into your brain. I want you to be smarter than the last guess. Right? The bar is very high for you. No pressure. How many? I'm going to need an exact number out of you. How many Americans are enjoying medical marijuana in this present day, roughly? But for you, I want the exact answer. Everyone else gets a little bit of a window.
I honestly, I'd have to say about 54%. And you're talking about that they represent.
I want to know individually names and numbers.
How many people are in the United States to start with? Like, what does that mean? Like,
you're not making us
let's
look
put it in
any
perspective.
better, Eric. You're not making us look any better.
I feel like there's a lot of us. There's probably, let's say there's 1,000 Americans. Is that about right?
There's you're close. You're close. I think there's
Make the math easy.
3 billion people in the world. So I don't know how many Americans. Scorch, how many Americans do you think are medicating daily on this wonderful plant we call cannabis?
Who did the survey, first off, if I may?
It was Jon Allen, and we had him stand out at the local Costco.
No. This is legit. I'd like, is this...
This information comes from marijuana.com, and it was done by, I'm sure, the scientists, the ones who do all the studying and all the good stuff, those guys. We never get to see them, but they are perfect on their work.
75 million people.
I think that's more people in the than in the U.S., but
75 million people, more people in the U.S.
75 million people is a whole lot of people.
There's a lot more than 75 million people in the USA, though. Go puff another one, Medi Mike.
Can we get Knowles? Google that at your time. How many people are in the U.S.?
It's definitely, I think, in the millions. I'll agree to that.
Thank you.
So we're getting close. We're around
75, though, is a bit much.
That's a lot of people. That's 2 hemp fests.
There's like 300 million people in the USA.
How many?
300-something million people in the USA. So I say 70.
U.S. population says as of 2012,
we are not
313.
taking a big enough piece of the pie, guys.
No kidding. See? So maybe my answer
have
ain't
a bigger
that stupid.
studio.
That was good. So out of the 300 bazillion people that are in the U.S., how many are actively smoking marijuana? Mr. A, give us that answer.
150
150 people?
million.
Now the answers are all going up. We all a little education. It is 14.6 million people, give or take a couple 100,000. 14.6 million. Not as big as number I thought. Now knowing there's 300 million people in the United States.
That's the number of people that were willing to openly admit it. There are tons of closet stoners and smokers out there.
Yes.
For whatever reason,
closet
bureaucrats,
medicators.
judges, presidents, all of those
Sitting in
guys that can't
donated
talk about it.
closets.
Closet medicators. Remember that.
Right. We're healing. We're healing stuff. Even
Whatever
if you
the
don't
word
even
is.
know if you're sick, we're healing it. That's a trip. 300 million people, 14.6 million of them admittingly smoking marijuana. I guarantee that number's closer to 130 million.
We got to get that number up.
That's exactly where I'm at. How do they have something that says 54% talk about that they smoked, but yet only 14 million out of 313? I think it's
The same thing with voters. Unfortunately, stoners tend to not like to get out and involve themselves on stuff that involves putting their name on a list and being counted.
I can't believe this just came in over the wire. The United States just lost 300 million people, so it's down to 75 like you wanted.
Time to procreate, and this is a sausage fest in here. We're screwed. This in the news. Tommy Chong, now part owner of a recreational dispensary in Colorado. You know what? He's got enough. He's got enough at this point. He's 75 years old. And, you've had your heyday, man. Relax. Enjoy your retirement. And, you don't have enough pot, Tommy,
Well,
Let him do his thing.
yeah, he's going to Colorado. Maybe he is retiring.
What?
This is it.
I don't think he's
gonna
working
run a
it either.
dispensary, man. I'm just going to do...
I bet you he's just a spokesperson. They're like, hey, you say you're an owner. We're going to give you 40% of the profit. And I'll tell you, too, he's making a lot more public appearances lately. and very accessible, which makes me wonder if there are any financial issues.
I love that guy, man. He's so old. He's still doing stand-up. He's still out there doing stuff.
People tend to be disappointed because he's not an activist, believe it or not. He's stumbled into the role, but he wrote all those Cheech and Chong movies. He's a very accomplished actor, and he's created a movement, definitely, but he's somebody who will support something that you have going on, and he'll even speak on your behalf. But you won't find Tommy Chong at the head of a normal organization doing anything he wasn't paid to do. I'm sure he donates his time. I'm just hating on Tommy Chong. Whatever, man. You got everything. We have nothing. Give us your stuff. Now, he's doing very great. I did have the pleasure of sitting with him for a while, and one of the more educated people over the age of 70 for current events that I've seen.
Totally.
Yeah, you're on your own. You want to bag on Tommy Chong? You're on your own, man. I'm trying not to bag on him. I love the guy. I just think enough is enough. You're 75. Relax, man.
I don't think he's gonna fail. He'll be dead before this airs. Probably.
I have an autographed sneaker from Tommy Chong and Cheech that I will not let go, because as soon as one of them kicks the bucket, man, right to eBay with that thing.
I gotta say, we were talking about this the other day. Cheech is kind of a disappointment, though.
Doesn't smoke.
Doesn't even smoke. He plays a cop on TV now. Like, he totally turned on us,
Dragged into the...
Shaved his mustache. Come on.
I'll bet you he started the comedy shows again because, again, Tommy's having financial issues. He just got out of that big court case. He was locked up and maybe doing a friend a favor for that last hoorah and doing this big comedy tour that they're out there doing right now.
Cheech looks like the Mexicali George Jefferson. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah. Totally does.
It really does, man. Come on.
Should have been called Mooch and Chong.
Also, just in on the marijuana. Cannabis. I'm going to make up new words all day. It's my thing. Nebraska governor signs hemp bill into law. Guess what, Nebraska?
So what does that mean? They're going to grow hemp in Nebraska now?
They're going to go ramp
corn.
You can now grow hemp on farms in Nebraska.
All right.
Also about to be a big money state. You're going to see that trend going around, and corn prices are about to go up because they're going to start pulling those things out of the ground left and right. $20 for a corn plant, $3,000 for marijuana.
Grew corn here.
With a flood of great marijuana cannabis news being harvested on a daily basis, sometimes awesome stories get missed. For instance, April 2nd, Nebraska's Governor Dave Heineman, probably raised and lived there his whole life, put pen to paper and signed their state's hemp bill, LB 1001, taking effect the moment it was signed. I love when it does that. Hemp simply became perfectly legal to cultivate in the state of Nebraska for research purposes.
Oh, not industrial or anything else,
they just kind of ruined it. So they're saying that when they want to do these big,
they're going to finally
fake
start
tests on 20 people. This is the guy growing the 4 plants.
Oh yeah, that's right. This could have saved us.
No,
5 generations ago.
Well, I mean, are they doing it on actually the product, or is it more of the hemp itself that they're trying to use for the material purposes?
They're growing the hemp. They're not. I'm guessing they're not allowed to grow flowering plants.
Exactly.
But they are growing the hemp, and that's a start, because when the hemp comes in and the money from the hemp comes in, I don't know how much they're going to get for research purposes, unless the government's just buying all the hemp, which I'm sure they are. Until they open it up for industrial Nebraska, I don't think you're going to see very much money in the way of having new roads paved and your schools rebuilt a little, such as Denver is doing right now.
I see.
This just in: British weed thieves, I love this, are using drones to find and steal marijuana. This is awesome. These guys are taking these little remote control helicopter. I
know exactly what you're talking
There's
about.
no guns on it, so it's not military, but they do have a camera, and they are floating these miles and miles above these big hills. I'm guessing Britain has hills. And they are finding these secret underground guerrilla grow operations. And they're stealing your weed through technology. I think it's kind of cool. I hate that they're doing it because stealing sucks. Don't steal weed. It grows for free. But how awesome is that they're sending a robot
the guy
out?
in North Park who used a gun, you're glad he's dead.
Shoot him dead. Yeah, shoot him dead.
This guy who's using drones,
if this guy would have sent in,
cool,
if
man.
he would have sent in like a transforming Volkswagen that he was inside of the suit with lasers, I would have been like, way to be ahead of the curve.
This guy built a time machine and stole weed from me last year.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
That's
awesome.
Okay, fine. Yeah, that's
awesome.
impressive.
But don't use brute force and try to intimidate me and make a whole community look like crap because of one bad person.
Drones, though, remote control
drones.
weed spying things. That's awesome. Look where we live today, man.
If you know that they're using this for marijuana right now, let me tell you, you are being spied on in so many ways that you are not aware of. If the public is just now realizing, hey, this is what we can do. There are satellites up there that are just watching us right now, waiting for us to light up so they can kick the doors in. We are the NugLife Radio Show. If you're listening in, we're talking about cannabis education, news. We are a high level of education. Mr. A came in with us. We're going to do some research and development. Our next segment is called the Smoker's Circle.
Oh, I like research.
And that means that we're going to try out a strain called Northern Lights. We're going to give you all the information on it, and we're going to tell you how it affects us. So we sound great now. We're going to sound even better when we come back. This is Medicinal Mike, Scorch PFG, and filling in for Jon Allen, Erik Knowles for the NugLife Radio Show. We'll be right back.
Life. Nug 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 life.
Welcome back. You are listening to the NugLife Radio Show, the hardest working people in cannabis today. We are a high level of education and just a little bit of entertainment. I am your host, Medicinal Mike, cannabis activist, comedian. I try to do everything I can. Co-host Scorch PFG in the house.
I've never told you this, but it's actually...
It's pronounced. Also with us today, filling in for the Jon Allen and doing a great job at it, is Erik Knowles, the world's funniest comedian. The funniest thing to ever come out and almost hit a microphone. Someday you may get
I'm on there. Hey,
bam,
hello.
there we
Thank
are.
you, everybody.
We have Mr. A sitting in with us in studio, geneticist, grower extraordinaire, and the activist of all activisms, Dan Murphy from The Human Solution.
No, I'm just a guy. I'm not that big.
When we left...
Dan's just one man, Mike.
It's interesting, man. You have Dan who's like 6'9".
Yeah, he's up there.
And I'm like 5'3", and we're sharing a microphone. It's like, here you go, sir. Please don't stomp on me, sir.
Dan, the highest of the high, being a height, because he is a monster. When we left, we had a NugLife question. Did we? Did we have a NugLife question when we left?
I don't remember, man.
The question was, who wants to go out and sample for the circle?
Is that what happened? Well, let me give you the NugLife question. Besides George Washington, what other president grew hemp?
I bet you I know.
I bet you. Well, me and Erik actually talked about this, and he had the answer, so he gets excluded from voting. Real quick, Mr. A, who do you think it is?
Franklin himself.
No. Dan Murphy, what do you think?
I believe that Jefferson also grew hemp.
Well, there you go, Dan Murphy, taking everybody else's vote away with the correct answer. As always, I should have asked him last because I should have known he knew that. Jefferson was the other person to actually grow hemp, but as me and Mr. Knowles concluded, neither one of them probably touched it because they had a field of slaves. They did mention the word plantation.
It was the slaves of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson who first grew and cultivated hemp, and I think they should get the credit they deserve.
Yes. However, I believe that the touching part, there is some letters that talk about the quality of the hemp, as they called it back then, and that it was actually sampled and touched by these men.
Yeah, I bet. Explains the wooden
Well, Jefferson
teeth.
was the one that was known for, like, intermingling with some of his slaves, and, like, he had some kids.
He
with,
ran a dry cleaner and made it up to syndication.
Good for DJ.
The
He's a
Jefferson
good
ended
man.
up moving on up. I think that was funnier in the car on the way over here.
That's the answer to our NugLife fact. We also concluded that there's got to be dang more than 14.6 million people smoking marijuana, which led us to believe that stop talking about the good old days and realize that you're probably living in them right now. So appreciate every day. Get out there and do the most you can and be the most success and the biggest voice in cannabis rights. We are the NugLife Radio Show. We are a high level of entertainment, cannabis, counterculture, a high level of education. I screwed it up again.
Getting it? We are all of that.
I'm so used to entertaining people. It's kind of now we're teaching them, and you are going to learn from us. By gummit. We just did the research and development, the funnest part of our show. That's where we actually try and sample the medications. And I'll give you a little information before we get to the fun stuff. What we sampled today is called Northern Lights No. 5, possibly one of the most famous cannabis strains of all time. Northern Lights is a pure indica, which I didn't know because usually when it's a sweeter bud, you go and think sativa. First grown in Holland, Northern Lights has been crossed with multiple strains to create many of the best hybrids. She is the winner of the most cannabis awards worldwide, and for good reason. The indica body buzz delivered is second to none. That's their opinion. My opinion is it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It's definitely pretty good.
This is a very famous California strain. Very sweet to smell, sweet to taste. Also got crystals through the nose through them. And we all smoked. Let's go around the room. Scorch, how you feeling? Scorch is playing Sudoku.
Sweet, and it's a fine little buzz. You know what? As I always tell you, the finger test. It all depends how it smells after I scrunch it between my fingers. You know what I mean? And
smell his fingers right now.
And
Eric.
I do like the way my fingers smell. Of course, I had a good night last night, so they still smell from that. You understand, but yeah, you know what? I like it. I enjoy when you can take a rip, or as we say in the medicinal world, when you take a dose. And
who says that?
And that dose feels nicely in your lungs, and it expands at a nice level. Not enough to make you want to die, but it expands at a nice enough level that you can tell you got something better than just some sort of crappy.
You make me want to smoke it again. What a good description.
You can tell that this isn't over-the-counter medication. This is a special behind-the-counter medication.
Yeah,
this
you
is
can't
the
pick
good
this up
stuff.
at a Walmart.
Yeah, no, this is the good stuff. Well, you probably could pick it up at a Walmart parking lot with the right people. But yeah, I'll give it a 9.2.
A 9.2 on the Scorch PFG Passion for Growing scale. Dan Murphy, Human Solution.
Well, I did enjoy that it didn't make me cough too much. You get a plant that has not been cured properly or quite possibly not flushed properly, and you're going to experience extra cough, and something I really don't like and I'm kind of sensitive to. So I really appreciated that. I was able to feel the effects pretty much immediately, but that's not too surprising. I do like how it crept down beyond just my head and is giving me the signature full body high that you get from your Northern Lights strains.
That's nice. God, there's some educated. I'm just like, it's awesome. My eyes are red. Mr. A, what do you think of the
I think
Northern
it was
Lights?
grown before the rains and was probably the better half of the crop.
Picked by a left-handed Mexican in row 7 of the 4th plant.
I can't feel my legs, man. No, it's
Northern Lights No. 5.
Honestly,
Radio
I
Show
might have
smokers.
drank too many Red Bulls already, but no, it was smooth.
But yes, huh?
It was smooth. It's comfortable. I really can't say much more than that.
Scale of 1 to 10. The passion for growing 1 to 10 scale.
I'd give it an 8.7. 8.7.
It's good. About a 9 average so far. Mr. Knowles, funniest comedian on the Western Hemisphere.
I liked it a lot. No, I agree. I think
too.
Yeah, I think Dan made a great observation that it didn't make him cough, and yeah, thinking back, like it wasn't a big hack fest like it usually is for a few of us are in our 30s already. Like sometimes it's
speak for yourself, buddy.
Fest. Yeah, well,
I'm almost double that, pal.
Yeah, not me, of course, but yeah, I liked it. It had a really piney kind of a taste that sticks around in your nose. I really like that in a strain, I guess. I'm not really a connoisseur though. I like that.
You are now.
Like
You're speaking for millions of potheads. 14.6 to be exact.
So this is Northern Lights No. 5. I didn't even know there were more than one. Has there been 1 through 4, or was number 5 the one that got popular,
do that with
like
skunk.
WD-40?
I think it's a marketing trick to raise the value on your bud, because I've seen 9 different skunks numbered, but you're never going to tell the difference in the flavor. And back in the day when I used to make up some of the names myself, I happen to know that sometimes you're not getting what you think.
See, I always suspected that.
But there's this thing. I mean, like,
next
if you smoke
tell
Blue
me
Dream,
wrestling's fake too, man.
Wrestling,
You're ruining my life.
Wrestling
over here.
is very real, brother. Very real.
Thank you.
People are dying from it. Northern Lights, Blue Dream, they all have a very distinct flavor. So no matter, like if somebody says, here's a good skunk bud, and you taste Blue Dream, you know you're tasting Blue Dream. You know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts on that.
I believe that, because we used to say it back in New England, we used to joke around and say, yeah, it's the same thing. They just put a different name on it and added or took off $5 per
I'm
prescription.
here to confirm that for you.
No, that's the truth.
I
That's
used to
what
have
we're doing.
back in the day before legal marijuana, when I was what they would call a drug dealer, I would always have one good strain, and I would tell you it's $20 an eighth or $25 an eighth.
Yeah.
You pick which one you want. You know, I tell them I have two, and they always pick the 25 every single time.
And you had only one?
Well, I only had one
No, that's
customer.
exactly what I was thinking.
No, maybe you had
Yeah,
one
I always had
strain.
one. Yeah, I only had one strain, and they always pick the 25 because they want the better bud, and $5 is nothing to spend for it.
People believe you get what you pay for.
So we're going to be wrapping up the show. We are the NugLife Radio Show. This has been the Smoker Circle, the best part of the show where we, as your scientists, self-branded scientists, are testing out the top strains in the world, and we're giving you the goods on them. It's a good
The very
stony day.
goods.
We just did the Northern Lights. We've concluded that it is an indica. It's frosty. It's delicious. Today in studio, we had Dan Murphy from the Human Solutions. Very, very educated, and only second to Mr. A, our grower geneticist. He came in and he told us.
Mr. A's wearing a white lab coat. I've never seen him in anything but a white lab coat, no matter where he goes.
That's
he's got a
how you know
Padres
he's a
cap
doctor.
on, white lab coat.
That's how you know he's a doctor.
He's a real scientist, yeah.
A doctor-ish.
He's spotless all the time. I don't know how he gets his white so white.
You know, he's not a doctor, but anything he tells me, I would take as doctor's advice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as you should. So we are the brand new NugLife Radio Show. We are mainstream now. We are high level of education and entertainment. You should be listening to us because it's a great thing to do. And this, again, is our more stonier part of the show, the Smokers Circle, where everybody gets to sit in and talk. Please check out Scorch PFG, rockallnight.com.
Thank you, folks. Nice to have you here.
Dan Murphy with the Human Solution. You can just put that into Google. Mr. A, you can't find you, huh?
Thanks, gentlemen.
Yeah, don't look him up, preferably. He'll find you if it's needed. Erik Knowles, you can see him coming up in the San Diego's Funniest Person
The
contest.
final San Diego's Funniest Person contest. Everybody should
I
come
myself am
out. Tell
opening
your
up.
friends in San Diego, come see.
Get on.
Come watch me win.
Facebook, Twitter.
Come on. Yeah.
Make sure you get out there and vote for him. He doesn't need it, though, because he's going to win, because he's funny. May 7th, I'm opening up for Gallagher. Come check that out at the Comedy Palace.
Awesome.
And today, we are finally going to the Edible Buffet. You're listening to the NugLife Radio Show. Tune in next week for more awesome education and fun. Thanks for listening.
I'm taking it next.
Don't sue me.